So let's raise the big questions. The elephant in the room, is the Election Commission truly a neutral body or is it a government appointed body? Should there be a relook therefore at appointment processes? Should the courts decide appointment processes or is the court overstepping its boundaries? Joining me now is Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, and Professor Tarlochan Shastri, Chairman, Association for Democratic Reforms, which has been calling for these reforms in the way elections are held in the country. First, you, Dr. Qureshi, you were Chief Election Commissioner from 30th July 2010 to 10 June 2012, 681 days. Do you also accept what the court says, that election commissioners in the post-session era have not been independent, or there's a question mark over their neutrality and they follow what the government of the day wants?
I don't agree entirely, because some of us have done a good job. Some others may have left things to be desired. I can talk about myself. I was an appointee of the Congress government, but I censured the law minister of the land, who is the administrative ministry for the Election Commission of India, and 4 other ministers. What more independence do you expect?
No, the manner in which the appointments are done by the government of the day amongst various senior bureaucrats, and therefore the court is wanting to know how are these appointed. What is there a criteria that is adopted, or is it done in an ad hoc manner which could lead some to believe that election commissioners are appointed because the government of the day has a relationship with a particular bureaucrat?
You know, of course, there is a flaw that after the constitution was adopted, that it was expected that a law will be framed to lay down the appointment procedure, which has not been done for the last 72 years. And the practice followed is that the government of the day appoints somebody, and it has always been a bureaucrat, mostly IAS officers, sometimes law secretaries. And it has worked very well. The Election Commission of India has become the most well-known, best recognized election commission in the world. It is considered world guru. Obviously, we have all done something to contribute to this kind of an image. This has worked very well. Now, to say that the bureaucrats are not the best people to be appointed, to who else? Somebody has to be appointed. And I can tell you that judges will not make a good election commissioner, because we are in neighboring Pakistan. This used to be the judges, and the election commissioner's reputation was pits. And the same people, and even the judges, because they may be great judges, they may know their law, but they have no experience of election. Whereas IAS officers have conducted elections all their 35 years. I was a presiding officer, I was a returning officer, I was an observer in umpteen elections. So therefore, which is why bureaucrats are the best people to conduct the elections, and they have acquitted themselves very well.
Let's take that point. They've acquitted themselves very well, because that is part of what the court seems to be looking at. Tarlochan Shastri, as someone who has raised these questions, do you believe they've acquitted themselves well, or has something gone wrong with the system for the court now to intervene and actually question effectively the independence of the Election Commission?
I think the court is not raising that question, it is raising the constitutional question. That's why we have a constitutional bench. So Caesar's wife must not only be above suspicion, but she must be seen to be above suspicion. So since so many questions are being raised, there is no harm in relooking at the process so that such allegations are put to rest once and for all.
No, but you've got Dr. Qureshi, Professor Shastri suggesting that bureaucrats who have gone through the process of being returning officers, working in the districts, are best equipped to be election commissioners. You agree?
You see, if you look at the petition which was admitted in the court, they are not asking that IAS officers should not be appointed. They are asking that the process of appointment should be non-political. In fact, if you look at other countries, Spain and others, they have a much larger election commission, South Africa. Right now we had one election commissioner till session. Then the government decided that one person is not enough. They made 3. And that is okay, that's good. But the other 2 do not enjoy constitutional immunity like the CEC. So there are lots of gaps in the system which need to be addressed. And as far as whether bureaucrats are the right people for being election commissioners, I have no comment on that. I think they have experience. But the process of appointment, I think that's what the petition is saying.
Let's look at that process of the manner in which they are appointed. Dr. Qureshi, two aspects to it. One, since 2001, that's in 21 years, we've had 15 chief election commissioners. So it means that on an average, a chief election commissioner has been in office for less than 1.5 years. Now that's surely not enough for that chief election commissioner to actually, in a way, put his or her imprimatur on the system. Should that be changed? Should there be a fixed tenure of, let's say, 4 years, 5 years? And should that be purely on seniority? What should be the basis, particularly for who becomes the chief election commissioner?
Yeah, Rajdeep, before I come to this question, let me take you back to what Professor Shastri said. The question before the court is about the procedure of appointment. The procedure has been that the government of the day appoint anybody. And even as CEC, me, and before me, my predecessors have been writing to the government that this procedure is faulty. The most powerful election commission in the world has the most faulty system of appointment, just the unilateral appointment by the government of the day. We have been demanding that there should be the general consensus and leader of opposition should be involved, and let there be the Collegium, including Chief Justice of India. And we are familiar with the system. We have a Collegium for CIC, CVC, even for Director of CBI, who is not even a statutory body, who is just a head of a department because of the sensitivity of the job. So we have been demanding, and that is the petition before the court also, that a collegium should be selecting the candidate. So that is the point.
No, so you're saying that correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that it cannot just be the government of the day that decides on election commissioners and the CEC. Are you suggesting that it should be done by a collegium that includes the Chief Justice of India and the leader of the opposition? Am I correct?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. And in fact, all over the world, the system is so broad-based that sometimes there is parliamentary scrutiny in many countries. In many countries, the candidates are interviewed on a national television for the selection of this post. Here, quietly, the appointment is made. We were beneficiaries of the same system, but we were always protesting about it, even when we were on chair. So,
but do you accept, therefore, that this present system leads to the suspicion or the perception that election commissioners are people who are favored bureaucrats of the government of the day? And the only way to remove that perception is to have the leader of the opposition and a chief justice and perhaps give an equal vote to all of them. And maybe have a transparent interview process. It can't be done behind closed doors.
Correct. Right. I think the collegium system is the best. But in any case, even after the collegium system, there is no 100% guarantee that the officer will be very fair, but at least there will be no allegation. No opposition party will not be able to say that this guy is working for the government, because you were a party to the appointment, you were a party to the selection.
And should this be done by the court or the parliament? Should parliament pass a law that will now change the way election commissioners are appointed?
Yes, ideally it should be the parliament, which is why we have been writing to the government. For the last 25 years we have been writing to the government. Every successive CEC has written, but the government has taken no action. In fact, let me tell you, when I was appointed in 2006 as election commissioner, the then principal secretary to Prime Minister said that government was very seriously thinking of starting a collegium system, and he told me, full of strategy, that perhaps my appointment is the last appointment through the old system. But unfortunately, this was put on the back burner and it hasn't happened. And no government wants to give up its power. Now, the second thing about the short tenure, I would like to answer that.
Yes.
There I think the court has really not fully understood the issue, because they have not examined the thing in detail. There was a time till 93, there used to be only one CEC. There was no other person, so he was appointed for 6 years, so he will complete his term. From 93, it became a multi-member commission. We are appointed as election commissioners first, and after 3, 4 or 5 years, we get elevated as a CEC. Ultimately, we end up doing 5 or 6 years. but it's a combined term with EC and the CC together. So since 93, things have changed.
So
and
you're saying look at it as a combined term of EC and CEC. But Professor Shastri, the question, the elephant in the room is that over time, has the EC become less and less neutral, more and more subject to political pressure? Just recently, the Election Commission is under pressure that the manner in which the Gujarat election schedule was organized was done to ensure that the Prime Minister of the day was able to inaugurate maximum projects in Gujarat, and only then the election schedule is announced. These are questions that are being raised time and again now over the way the Election Commission seems to be guided, particularly in critical issues, by the government of the day. Do you agree with that, or do you believe that also is an exaggeration?
Rajdeep, in spirit I agree with you. Whether it is factually correct, this particular instance is not the issue. The issue is public perception should not in any way be able to raise a finger. We never had these questions, say, 20 years ago. Now many people are questioning exactly what you're saying. So whether the Election Commission did it in good faith or not is not the point. The Election Commission should be above suspicion. Let me say one thing publicly, because we are beating around the bush. You see, there was an Election Commissioner, and as far as we understand, the Election Commissioner is appointed after all sorts of due diligence, you know, his background and his all sorts of things. So he was appointed, and he apparently gave a dissenting note on some major issue.
That's right.
And there was an income tax raid on his wife.
That's right. You're
And so
referring to
he
Election Commissioner
resigned from the
Lavasa. You're referring to Mr. Lavasa. Let's be very honest. Let's call a spade a spade.
So, yeah, that is Mr. Lavasa, and then he went off to the Asian Development Bank. Now the issue is that even suppose, let us assume everything is correct, but the perception of many people, a large number of people, is that, you know, why was his wife, you know, subjected to income tax raid when he is the Chief Election Commissioner? So these perceptions have to change. And you know, this suggestion that Mr. Qureshi gave is a very worthy one. It's a law commission has given that. But the petitioners have suggested 3 or 4 other alternatives. So let the court apply its mind. It's a constitutional bench. We look forward to the court applying its mind and coming up with a slightly better system for appointing. After that, you know, we have to have faith.
Umeed par duniya kayam hai, but at the end of the day, we urgently, yes, very quickly, Dr. Qureshi, because we urgently need reform. Let's not run away from that. We do need reform. The present system is not working.
Yes, you know, removal process also is equally important, because, you know, while CEC has the immunity, it cannot be removed once appointed except through impeachment. The other two can be removed even on the recommendation of the CEC. They feel they are on probation, and they can output this inconvenient CEC twice a day, 10 times a day. Therefore, the protection which is available to CEC has to be given to the these members. If that was the case, Ashok Lavasa would have continued and he would have become the CEC.
Well, either way, clearly serious questions are being raised, and while the government of the day may say there is no need for change, well, reform may well be the order of the times. Thank you both very much for joining me on that question. I leave you there.